Hello, everybody, and welcome to What's the Story podcast. This is WTS 300, and I don't have the number in front of me, so 300 something. My name is Danny Murray.
And I am Graham Merrigan. And
you can tell. You can tell.
328, Danny.
Thanks, man. Thanks. I was going to say, you can tell I am struggling. I didn't even look up what number we were on. I'm just get me.
You're sick as a dog, is it?
I am riddled. I've got some absolute fucking plague. I'm on antibiotics to beat the band. I'm on, I don't know what, but all I know is I need me bed. I'm done.
Right. Well, I've not really to say, so will we go straight into it? Who are we interviewing this week, Daniel?
Yeah, that's a great show. Thanks, man, for having mercy on me. Delighted that our guest this week, a returning guest, and he is brilliant. The last time we had him on was great crack. He knows everything there is to know about TV and movies, and his recommendations never miss. He is the brilliant Brian Lloyd.
Delighted to say that Brian Lloyd has returned to the pod after a mad week of Oscar buzz. How are you, Brian?
Not bad. How are you?
Good. How's the Oscars for you?
Do you know something? It was grand. It wasn't terribly exciting, I don't think. Yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like, here's a question for both of you, right? Just to kick things off. Did either of you see Anora?
No.
Either of you see The Brutalist?
No.
Either of you see The Substance?
Yes.
No.
Okay. Did either of you see Nickel Boys?
No.
No.
Did either of you see a film called Sing Sing?
No.
No.
I'm not trying to make you feel bad. I'm asking this to illustrate a point. Did any of you see A Real Pain, for example?
No.
No. Okay. See, there you go. Does anyone actually give a shit about the Oscars anymore?
No.
This is the thing.
And like, even some of the ones that like were the big, like Anora was like the big winner, right? I think I'd heard of it like a week before the Oscars, just because, people were talking about like the films that were nominated, but it didn't even, they weren't talking it up to the point where I was like, I have to go see this.
Yes.
It wasn't like when The Revenant was there and everyone was like, this is Leo getting his gong, this is it. This is Leo's moment. And I was like, I'm going to watch it then. There was none of that. I was just kind of like, I'll get to it.
Yeah, isn't that it? Isn't it? Like, because like, look, I would say it's a great film. You should definitely enjoy it. But, when it was out in cinemas in Ireland, it was out over Christmas. So like,
didn't even know it would be in the cinema here.
There you go.
I thought it was to come to the cinema here and just,
Nah.
Yeah.
It was out for like 2 weeks, I think, between Christmas and New Year's, or might have been into the first week of New Year's. And like, it had an 18 certificate, and you would have only seen it in places like the Lighthouse or the IFI, or if you're down in Cork, like it's in like small kind of like the arty kind of cinemas,
Yeah.
And this is it. Like, I mean, The Brutalist, for example, it's a similar buzz. Like, it's been in, the IFI and the Lighthouse. You might see it the odd time, say, in the middle of the day in an Odeon or something like that, or an IMC. Like, it's not, none of the films that were up for the Oscars this year, with the exception of maybe The Substance or Dune Part 2, have been anywhere really in the kind of, in the mainstream, if you know what I'm trying to say. Like, everyone's talking about, oh, you got to go see this film, it's going to be great, blah, 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 blah. And I mean, and that's just the way it is. Like, it's just the Oscars has become very insular, I think. Like,
the Academy has become like, I think we talked about this when we had you on before, where it was kind of like, it's the Academy, they're a bit wanky, they're a bit whatever, but like, I don't know, because I thought like Dune would have done better, to be honest with you.
Same.
And I don't know why I thought The Substance, like, to be honest, right, when I watched The Substance, I thought it was like amazing or really good for like a huge portion of it, but then towards the end, I just kind of what the fuck's going on?
That's the best bit. Last 15 minutes, it's fucking great.
I was like, either the writer just kind of went, I don't know how to end this, so I'm just gonna go mad, or I don't know. But I was like, what the fuck? So I don't, yeah, I wasn't sure, but I thought it would do something. I thought it would, just because of the fact that people had hyped it up and people had talked
Mm.
about, the message behind the movie and all that kind of stuff. But
Hmm.
then, like we said before, just the Academy come along and they're like, no,
No,
I've
and I like,
I've never even watched the full Oscars, I don't think.
and you know something as well.
mm,
This year was the first time I think that RTE carried the Oscars live.
Wow.
Um, they normally just have like the highlight package like on the Monday evening, like
yeah,
they actually had it live this year, and I mean that in itself is nuts. Like think back
mm,
to like when we had Banshees of Inisherin, or even when there was Oppenheimer, like
yeah,
not like RTE like just didn't do anything, but then this year for some reason they got the live stream of it, and it was a last minute kind of thing as well, like because I mean they didn't hype it up in any kind of way. It was just like it appeared suddenly. It was like, oh yeah, they've got a live
yeah.
stream of it. Like, but yeah. I mean, it's you know, like I suppose the biggest kind of talking point to come out of the Oscars this year was Adrian Brody's speech. Did either of you see it?
I
Top
did.
clips of it, like or something.
Yeah, purely because like that it was the talking point and the whole thing of the orchestra playing and he was like, no, 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 let me, and but it's weird because like I like Adrian Brody in films, but I
Hmm.
don't like Adrian Brody.
I'm the same.
Yeah.
I'm the same, and I have a theory about this. Right?
Lay it on me.
It's kind of like right. There's no okay. There's no way for me to say this without sounding kind of wanky, so I'm just gonna say it.
Right, right.
I've interviewed a lot of actors, and I
Yeah.
can tell you this from experience. A lot of them are very, very dull people, right?
Okay.
They're very, very bland, uninteresting people. And that's probably why they're actors, because it's literally someone handing them a script and saying, you're going to sound amazing if you read this. And if you do exactly what I tell you and look exactly here, there, and do this and do that, you'll look cool as shit. And they're like, great, no problem. And they'll do it. And they're able to kind of they're able to sort of like sublimate their own personalities and just
Mm.
become whatever it is that's needed, And when you put a camera in front of them or when you put them up on stage and get them to talk, they are just dull as dishwater. Like they have nothing
Yeah.
interesting to say, and they're so kind of self-involved that they think they're being, what's the word? Profound. Like they think that they're being grandiose. They think that they have something to say, but no one actually cares. Like, and Adrian Brody being like, "Oh, this isn't my first rodeo. I'll wrap it up. I'll wrap it up." And it's like, shut
Mm.
up. Like, just take your statue, say thank you to everybody, thank the staff, thank the crew, thank the other people you were nominated with, walk off. Like, have you ever seen Joe Pesci's acceptance speech?
Yes.
Perfect. No, it's 30 seconds. He comes up, takes it off Brenda Fraker and says, wow, what an honor. Thank you so much. Turns around and walks away.
The,
Brilliant.
and what makes the Joe Pesci story or the Joe Pesci win even better is the Brenda Fricker story about Al Pacino.
Yeah.
It's absolutely, for people who
What's
don't
that story?
Tell the story. Yeah, you tell, yeah.
the very abridged version of it. But basically, Al Pacino hadn't won an Oscar, or had he won an Oscar at that point? No, I don't think he had he? And then the whole thing was that he was really nervous. He was shitting himself, like he was, really, really wanting to win. He was backstage and he was a bag of nerves. And Brenda Fricker happens upon him and she's like, what's wrong? What's wrong? And he says, oh, I'm just really nervous and really nervous. And she was presenting the award and she's like, I've the envelope. It's you. It's you, Al. You've won, like you've won. And away Al Pacino pops happy as Larry. And she gets up on stage, opens the yoke, and the winner is Joe Pesci. So just that story, I think came out years after. I don't know, but I haven't done it justice. But
Was
No,
Al
no,
go
no.
mad?
That's perfect.
I cracked up laughing.
Did Al
Yeah.
go mad? Do we know?
I don't know. No. I thought the story was great, Graham. Don't know about the
That
outcome.
is hilarious.
But yeah, the Adrian Brody, that's because right. I I really liked him in the Houdini thing that he did.
Yes.
And then even in that HBO show about the LA Lakers, you play Pat
Yes,
Riley.
winning time. Yeah,
Winning time, yeah. I was raging to cancel that, to be honest. I really enjoyed it. But like he has the ability to kind of like play really kind of different, really,
yeah.
but he just when he's not acting and I hear him talk or I see him somewhere, I'm like, this fucking,
I know, right? It's true. It's
Yeah.
really like no, you're 100% right. I never want to hear him speak normally, like because he just comes across as such a dick, like, and it's like a lot of actors make a point of they don't discuss their personal lives. They keep their personal lives private. Like they really
Mm.
won't talk about where they're from or what they do or anything like that. Because, I mean, in the case of like you take like Saoirse Ronan as an example. Like, I mean, her whole thing is that I want people to know as little about me as possible, so that when I'm playing a nun or if I'm playing whomever, you don't have the baggage of knowing who I am and what I've done, so
Yes.
that you can fully immerse yourself and believe me that I'm playing this person and doing it convincingly. And like, I think Adrian Brody is like that to an extent, but Jesus, every time he opens his mouth and he starts talking and he just, I don't know, like maybe it's like, I don't know. I mean, it's yeah. I can't explain it, but there's just something like really fundamentally
There is.
unlikable about
There
him.
is.
Like,
And it's mad you say it about Saoirse Ronan and the whole thing of like her personal life and whatever, because I didn't know, and like I don't know you. I know she's from Carlow, right? Because
yeah,
that comes up in interviews, whatever. But I was watching Slow Horses, and my
that's her
wife said,
husband.
"Yeah, my wife turns around, she goes, oh, that's your man. It's married to Saoirse Ronan." I was like, "Saoirse Ronan's married?" Didn't have a clue. Not Gary Oldman, by the way, just for people who haven't watched Slow Horses. It's not. It's the other guy, who's now.
Jack Loudon,
Thank you. Slow Horses, by the way. What a show.
cracker of a show.
Have you watched it, Mero?
No, not yet. I have heard
Oh,
loads about it, but
you
I
need
find
to.
that thing what Brian was saying there about Saoirse not wanting people to know. I
Hmm.
always think back to when Love Hate was at its height and everyone loved it. And then when the actors were interviewed in the Late Late Show and they heard their real voices, there was actually people going, "Jay's Love Hate shite now, wasn't it?" Because
Yeah,
Tom Von Lawler was so kind of posh, or
Yeah.
Robert Sheehan was so posh or eccentric that everyone's like, "How could they play lads from inner city Dublin or working class people?"
It's called acting.
It's the kind of same thing, isn't it? You're kind of going, "It's actually acting, lads.
yeah,
That's what they do. It's
yeah.
acting."
And like, look, if you're gonna have it, like, yeah, that's exactly it. Like, I mean, and you can have this discussion about okay, how authentically are they able to play that if they don't know, because like you look at like that film, then you see oh shit, what was it called? It was the latest John Carney film. It was the one with Bono's daughter. Um
Oh,
oh fuck, what was it
Is
called?
that the one where with her son, where she has a son and they sing?
Yes.
Yeah, I can't
Yes.
think of the name of it, but yes, I do. Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
uh, uh, it's actually I enjoyed it. Lawrence Kinlan's son
Yes,
is in
Lawrence
it.
Kinlan's son is in it, yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my God, what's it
Oh, I
called?
can't think of it either, yeah. But and
This would be great
Joseph
for the listeners.
Yeah.
they're all screaming at their phones.
Yeah.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's in it, but whatever.
Yes.
Anyway, the point was that there was an argument. There was not an argument, I suppose, but there was a lot of discussion, I would say, about the fact that
Yes. Eve Hewson was
correct,
playing.
Eve
Yeah.
Hewson and
Flora and Son.
Flora and
here you
Son.
go, thank you, Flora and Son. And she was, yeah, there was a whole kind of argument that like Eve Hewson was basically playing somebody from inner city Dublin, and she had this very strong accent, and it was very her class, if you like, was
Mm.
a focal point of the story, And it was like, is that not a bit? Is there not a question about why is she doing that and all the rest of it? Like, couldn't they just get somebody who knows this authentically and is able to play it with a bit more kind of subtlety than the way she's doing it? And like, on the one side, you can say exactly what we were talking about, which is, it's acting. Eve
Hmm.
Hewson is an Irish person. She's lived in Dublin. She probably knows these people in some sense of the word, and can portray that authentically. But then at the same time, it's like, you know, why are you doing it? Like, do we not have it? Like, there is like we have an embarrassment of riches when it comes to working class actors in Dublin, like who could easily play this and do it amazingly. So like, why is Eve Hewson taking up that space? But then, you know, maybe none of them were right for it. Maybe Eve Hewson was the only one that was right for it. Who knows? Like,
Yeah,
I think she was a producer on it as well. So
there you go. Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. But I remember seeing that criticism, and I can't have any idea. I won't say the name anyway if I could remember, but I think it was an Irish comedian that
yeah, it was. Yeah,
Yes.
that sort of instigated somebody, sort of
Yes.
was the one that got a lot of attention. And I remember reading at the time, kind of going, like, I'd already watched the film at that point. I was like, I thought she was good in it. I genuinely enjoyed the film. I thought it was enjoyable. I don't see what all the hullabaloo's about here. Like, I just, I just
Yeah.
it
but
was a bit of a storm in a
in the
teacup.
industry though, can you not see a lot of that argument then on the lead up to Flora and Son was a broader conversation about nepotism, wasn't it? And
Yeah.
I think
The whole
and I
nepo
think
baby
that's
thing.
yeah, and I think that's what kind of came out of it. And that the Irish comedian obviously tweeted about it and caused uproar, and then Lawrence Kinlan got involved in the tweet and was, he was criticizing the comment. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm actually 50-50 on it, to be fair,
Same.
in regards to nepotism and stuff like that, because as Brian said, the caliber of working class actors we have now at the moment is completely off the charts. Like, and I think sometimes it can come across as patronizing that the middle class will be telling a working class story. And that would
Yeah.
be my kind of 50-50 on it. The other 50% is that I enjoyed the movie, you know. But yeah, that's where I would sit on it, to be honest.
Yeah, and there's fairness as well. Like another point that, again, I sound like such a dickhead, but whatever. When I interviewed John Carney and I put this kind of question to him, sort of around the houses kind of way, he was kind of saying like, "Oh well, the only people who would actually make a problem about this is Irish people." You know, the fact that it's Bono's daughter, like Eve Hewson. People would have to go to IMDb or Wikipedia to find out that she's Bono's daughter. Like she doesn't really talk about it and stuff like that. So this argument would only apply. This kind of criticism, if you like, would only come up from Irish people and stuff. And then he says, Irish people are just like that. We'll always find something to kind of complain about,
Well, it doesn't help that a lot of Irish people don't actually like Bono.
This is true. And again, I have a gigantic chip on my shoulder when it comes to Bono. Yeah, exactly. So like it's it's like Bono, your pox, pay your taxes. Like, come on.
I'm very glad people don't judge me for my father, lads, and I think we'd all have a similar kind of thing,
True, yeah, fair point, yeah.
I don't know. I've seen her. Obviously, Bad Sister. She was in that Netflix show as well. And I can't think of the name of it now off the top of my head.
The Thriller, wasn't it?
Yeah, where it was kind of.
I didn't like it.
Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, it was okay. It was okay, but I thought she was good in it. And I don't know, with these things, I'm always kind of like, representation is important and all that kind of stuff, but equally, it's kind of like sometimes it's just the right actor or actress for the right gig, and that's what you have to go with. And it's kind of like.
I remember years ago watching Avatar, and I got the hump that was a Hemsworth played the wheelchair user.
Right.
And I was like, there's wheelchair user actors out there. Like,
can I ask a genuine question? And I'm not trying to antagonize Ratton here, but it's just, and I don't think we
you king antagonizer.
No, genuinely though, right? Because I know, for example, that you love the Christy Brown film.
Yeah.
So would you have the same feeling about Daniel Day-Lewis?
Probably not. No.
Okay. So like, and it's those kind of things, where I'm like, is it sometimes when we really enjoy the piece of art, or we really enjoy the thing, that our sort of boundaries of forgiveness stretch that a little bit further? But then, because like I watched Avatar and I was like, that's a pox. I don't like it, right? I'm assuming you were kind of similar. You don't strike me as a big Avatar fan. So because you didn't enjoy it as much, then you probably were like, and fuck that guy too.
No, I went to the cinema to see it, and the minute I seen him, I knew who it was. It was Hemsworth, wasn't it?
No, it was oh Jesus, what is up with my brain at the minute? He's an Australian actor as well. He's not a Hemsworth. It was
right.
We're
Oh
on the same
God,
path.
Sam Worthington.
Sam Worthington, geez, that's who it was. I remember the opening scene of because obviously didn't know anything about Avatar, and I
Yeah,
didn't see any kind of reference of wheelchair user in the trailers or anything. So when I saw him, my whole opinion went of the film before actually seeing the whole film because I was so wound up that surely there was a wheelchair user that could have represented that. Now, in the My Left Foot example, you're probably I mean, you're probably thinking of a different time, and judging that on the time where people maybe with cerebral palsy weren't being represented, and people with disabilities certainly in the 80s weren't being represented publicly. So,
fair.
it's probably of its time. If that was
Yeah,
being maybe if that was a new project now and being made now, would you look to somebody with cerebral palsy? Probably.
yeah, fair point. Very fair point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's the whole nepo baby thing as well and all that kind of stuff. Like I, I don't know. Again, I think it's one of those conversations that we kind of we pick and choose when we apply it. Like, you know what I mean? If if Eve Houston's dad was a chef and she decided to become a cook, nobody would bat an eyelid. Do you know what I mean? But because it's in the world of fame, it irks people.
That's
Like if
that's the point of it, Dan.
no, but
Yeah,
like
but you see, but like just to take your point for a minute, right? If cooking, if being a chef, let's say, right,
hmm,
was as difficult to be successful in as it was acting, do you know what I'm trying to say? Like the reason why I think people have such a hump about acting, and then actor kids and all the rest of it, and nepo baby and all that kind of stuff is that like I heard I think it's something around like 83% of actors basically are effectively living in poverty, like, that kind of way,
yeah,
or like
yeah,
they're not working enough, like they're not working enough, like. So, you know in order for you to be a working actor and to be getting the kind of roles and stuff like that, you need some sort of a leg up, you need some sort of a way in, you need some sort
hmm,
of edge. And unfortunately, being the son or the daughter of a famous actor is automatically going to jump you straight to the top of the queue. It just is. So, like, there are plenty of examples of actors who are the children of actors who are doing incredible stuff. Like, the best example I can think of, and I take your point about like we pick and choose.
hmm,
Like, for example, Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, Cooper Hoffman, right? Any of you seen Licorice Pizza?
no,
Oh,
Look at it. It's brilliant. You'd love it.
right,
That's Philip Seymour Hoffman's son, and he's brilliant in it. He's absolutely fantastic. And you wouldn't know that it was Philip Seymour Hoffman's son until you were to look up Wikipedia or whatever and realize, oh shit, that's him. Like,
hmm,
and he's never, like, it's not really talked about, it's not really discussed, but he is the son of Philip Seymour Hoffman, and he's brilliant in it. Likewise, James Gandolfini's son, Michael Gandolfini, the fact that he played his father in that crap Sopranos film. Like, okay, is that nepotism, or is that just, hey, we want to get the person who looks the most like James Gandolfini as a young man? Like,
hmm.
I like
so
that, Brian.
Many Saints of New York, did you like it?
I did not like it.
Ah,
I
come
think
on,
the
it was
cinema
poor now. It was poor. You have to
I
admit.
think the cinema experience probably enhanced it for me. That always does that to me psychologically. That
Yeah.
if I'm at the cinema, I always think it's that 20% better, even though I've rarely come out of cinema and said that's shite, except when I saw Bandits with Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton.
Wow.
Um,
That's a deep cut. That is a deep
Wow,
it
cut, and
still
I
hurts.
wow.
appreciate it. Holy
It
shit.
still hurts.
You
But no,
pulled that out of nowhere, Mero.
I
That's
think
amazing.
I think I enjoyed this. I don't know. Say I'm a ridiculous Sopranos fan,
Same.
and maybe I just wanted to love it, and I definitely enjoyed it. I'm not gonna say whether I thought it was amazing, sensational, whatever. Uh, give a superlative, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I that's kind of how I felt about it as well. I wanted to love it. I wanted it to be so fucking. I was just hoping for this to be I tell you what I do think. I think they should have just done like 6 episodes. They should have just made a TV. It's like a 6
Agree.
episode miniseries round it out, do whatever, trying to turn it into a film. I think you cut off a lot of room for it to
Mm.
grow, or at least to kind of develop in such a way. But yeah,
Brian,
yeah.
I watch you most mornings in Ireland AM when you're there. As I said the last time, I fanboyed out to you the last time I
Ah,
heard
cheers,
you.
bro.
A
um,
glorious suit on you on Monday, might I add.
And
oh,
you know what?
gorgeous.
There was a big Jesus hole in the back of it that I'd never realized until I actually stood up. When I stood up to hand back the microphone, the floor manager came up to go, "Here, there's a big hole in the back of that." And I was like, "What?" And turned it around. It was like the whole underside of the arm had basically
No
like,
way.
oh no, the jacket is like literally like from the 70s. Like I got
Yeah.
it like I think I got it in Helter Skelter or something like that in
Right.
Temple Bar or something. Like I just got it for the crack. Like, but yeah, that thing is literally, that suit is literally falling apart. Like, so this will be the last year I'll say I'll get use out of it.
You get out of it. But on the
Yeah.
lead up to the Oscars, the day of the nominations and Ireland AM had you on, and you were like, Kneecap's gonna win. All the other documentaries or all the other international films are shit, they're muck. Kneecap's gonna win. And Kneecap didn't get nominated.
I am disgusted. I do you know something. I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I am not what's the word, prone to that kind of thinking. But I would put money on it. The fact that they were so vocally pro Palestine, I genuinely think played a part in it. I really, really.
Absolutely.
Now, I'll say this: I'm delighted I'm still there. Won the Oscar for Best International Feature. It was great. Delighted that it won, but it felt far too much. It like Kneecap not winning was, or sorry, not even getting nominated was
Yeah.
very, very suspect. Like very,
There
very
was a
suspect.
there was an expectation in the industry that it was a done deal that they were getting
Yeah,
nominated. Like I
yeah.
remember listening to you that morning saying, that you'd be shocked if they didn't win it. And I remember talking to friends who hadn't yet seen it, who were planning on. My cousin actually was planning on seeing it, and like I referenced yourself saying, so and so thinks that they're actually going to win it. But I had said to my cousin in that conversation, I'd actually be shocked if they win it because of their Palestinian stance. That's what I
Mm,
had said back then. So then a week later, when you were back on RNAM, and it was like they didn't even get nominated. It was crazy because it's act. Have you seen ECAP yet, Dan?
No, not yet. No.
I'm not sure it'd be up your street, but it's absolutely brilliant. I thought it was
Mm.
brilliant. I didn't know what to expect from it, Brian. So when I watched it again, and the cinema experience enhances it, I just thought it was amazing.
yeah, it really was, and like it's bolstered in a huge, huge way. Young kids taking up Irish and stuff like that. Like that's been one of the big side effects of it, is that people are actually kind of taking on Irish and in secondary school and all the rest of it. I mean, like like kind of what I was saying on Ireland AM was like it had a lot of industry support behind it. There were a lot of people, in the US film industry that, it got screened at like South by Southwest. It had gotten into I think it was like the Santa Barbara Film Festival or something like that. It was basically doing all the right things. But it's ultimately, and this is kind of goes back to our original point, like, is that like I don't think the Oscars, I really haven't thought for the last while that the Oscars are a real barometer for what is the best film of the year or what is the most watched. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
because you have to remember, like the Academy is made up of predominantly actors,
Mm.
and you know, I'm not saying that they're kind of cut off from reality and cut off from the rest of us, but it is definitely what, like, for example, Best Picture, they will always go towards uh, films that have a really big, strong central performance. That sort of way. The one that everyone, actors themselves, will look at and think, my God, how did they do that? That's amazing. Like, Dune Part 2, for example, the fact that that wasn't even the conversation,
Yeah.
it says so much, because you look at something like Doom Part 2 and it's all about the director. It's all about the special effects. It's all about Hans Zimmer's music. It's all about everything else. And while, Timothy Chalamet and Zendaya and Javier Bardem and Austin Butler and Stellan Skarsgård are all brilliant in it and are all doing incredible work. It's all part of a tapestry as opposed to their performance stands out above all the rest of it, you know, that kind of way.
Yeah.
And when it comes time to awarding best actor or whatever, the opinion, I think, and this is just theory now, my own theory of it, I think when it comes time to voting, they'll look at Timothy Chalamet or they'd look at Zendaya or they'd look at whomever that's in one of these kind of, you know, big blockbuster, these big kind of films, and they'll say, oh, well, you know what, like, it's the special effects doing the work for them, you know, that sort of way. They're just kind of, they're only just wallpaper in a thing, like, you know, that kind of way. Like, whereas something like a smaller film where somebody goes through the ringer and does all this and is all, you know, acting for the screen and all the rest of it, they'll go towards that because they're actors, and the Academy is predominantly made up of actors, and they'll vote for that as opposed to something that, you know, is part of a wider kind of film, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's mad because like when you look at like films that are like box office successful or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
and more often than not, they are kind of like chewing over the brain, big action films. They don't get within an arse's roll
No,
of the
not a
Academy.
hope.
Like, right, fair, Fast and Furious is a bad example because it's not as if the acting in that is any good or whatever, right? But like, if you think so, right, the Avengers Endgame,
Right.
right? Not that the acting or whatever, but as a cinematic piece, as
Hmm.
the culmination of a story, you know, getting people emotionally invested, making people feel something that brought people to the cinema. It was mind blowing successful.
Yeah.
It was and what probably won special effects and costume.
Something like that. Yeah.
You know,
Like, the argument I would point to is Top Gun Maverick, right?
yes, yeah,
Top Gun Maverick had, you know, incredible. Like, they literally slapped an IMAX camera on the side of an F-18 and
mm,
flew it all around the place. Like, the visuals in that were incredible. You know what I mean? And then, you know, like the sunsets and, you know, all of it.
I
And
wanted to hate it and I loved it.
Jesus, I would not, I loved Top Gun Maverick. And this is my point is, right? It brought people back to cinemas in the middle of the pandemic. It
yeah,
practically, and like, there's a clip of like Steven Spielberg, like bear hugging Tom Cruise at some award ceremony or something like that, and him, like, you can hear it, like, you can hear Spielberg saying it, like, he's like, you saved cinema, like, you saved theaters, like, you don't know what you did. And it's right, it's
yeah,
100% right, like. And yet, as you say, Top Gun Maverick did not come within an arse's roar of winning best picture. And like, and
yeah,
I'm not saying,
What is the barometer then? You know, where, like, I remember growing up, it always used to be the magazine. What was the magazine that was always out?
Empire.
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 Yeah.
In our group of friends, it was always a reference point. What did Empire vote? Or what did Empire, like? Oh,
Yeah.
Empire said this. Empire said that. But what is it these days? Because it's never been the Oscars has never been like that for me. Other
No.
than maybe when the Oscars has happened and you're looking for something to watch and you're kind of thinking and you're going, well, I'll have a look and see what was nominated for an Oscar and then I might watch it. But I've never been urged to watch something because it's won an Oscar. Do you know that
Yeah.
way?
Same. No, yeah, same. No, I agree. And like, you know, I've a mate of mine who is like very, very meticulous about what he watches. And he literally has like a spreadsheet. And every year he basically copies and pastes the nominees for Best Picture. And then he's like, right, I'll watch these at some point, like, you know, that kind of way. And I don't know. Like, see, this is it. Like, I mean, you have stuff like Letterboxd, you have TikTok, you have Twitter, you have Instagram, you have Snapchat, you have like Empire is still on the go. You have
yeah.
dickheads like me on the radio and the telly saying to watch X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't know if there is any kind of one true barometer anymore. And I think as well, like, because like, you know, like, look at music, for example. I mean, Jesus, when I was growing up, it was George Michael, Madonna, Prince.
Mm,
That was it. You know, you had like 4 or 5 big pop stars, and then now it's everyone for themselves. It's a complete free for all. And I don't know if there is that kind of barometer anymore. There's that one kind of sort of voice, if you like, that says, yes, this is good, or this is bad, or this is, watch this, don't watch that. I think people are more willing to take a punt on something, even if they just saw a TikTok of, if they saw a 5-minute clip or a 3-minute clip of a film, and they're like, oh yeah, I might give that I give that a belt, yeah. Or if a mate of theirs says, oh, here, listen, I saw Conclave last night, you'd love it, go watch it. Like,
Conclave,
did you see it?
I really enjoyed Conclave. Now,
did you see it, Mero?
No, I definitely want to see it though.
I love John Lithgow, so
Yep.
like, I use this with Ben Affleck all the time as well. But I mean, if they remade Jaws,
he could play the shark.
Exactly. That's the caliber I put him as. I'm just like, he can fucking be in anything and I'd watch it. But Conclave, I was like, am I really going to enjoy this though? Like, I was a bit, and I have to say, I did. It surprised me in how much I enjoyed it. I wasn't.
I know I'm going to enjoy it. What was the last Pope one? The movie.
Oh, it was the two popes. It was Anthony Hopkins and
I love that.
Yeah, that was good crack. Yeah,
I thought it was great. But I love, like, I've been to the Vatican, so I love all the history of it. Now, obviously, I hate the Catholic Church, but that's probably the main element as to why I want to watch it. What did you think of it, Brian?
I loved it. I did exactly like Danny was saying. Like, I absolutely loved it. Again, kind of like, you could not meet a bigger atheist, yet I loved how, I mean, it's basically a political thriller. Like, it's all about the election of the new pope, and there's like, it's all about it's so interesting because there's one scene in it right towards the start where it's Ray Fiennes comes out and he's basically leading he's sort of like he's managing the election, if you know, that kind of way, right? And he talks about certainty. And he says, like, certainty is the great enemy of faith, and that, to be certain of anything means to be rigid. And we have to remember that, like, our faith is wrapped up in mystery. If it was certain, there would be, there'd be no reason for any of it. Like, I'm not doing it justice, but like, if you watch Conclave, there's a great scene in it where he talks about it, and it's you're just caught in it, like, that kind of way. And it's, again, this is a good example of something like where you have these great actors and it's all talking. They're in a room, they're all talking to each other, they're all trying to figure it out, they're all trying to kind of get it together, and you're just locked in. You cannot stop watching it because the script is brilliant, the music is great, the sound, the costumes is really sharp. Like, it's all there, and it doesn't need all the bells and whistles. That sort of, it doesn't need big explosions. And that's a great example of a film that, I'm annoyed that didn't do better at the Oscars, because that's the example of a film that, anyone can watch this and enjoy it. You don't need to be hyper about it. It does not need to be snooty. It does not need to be off-putting in any kind of way. You can just watch this and get wrapped up in it,
Absolutely, yeah. You nail on the head there. It's the script, it's the acting, and it's just in its most simple form, but it pulls you in and you want to keep watching.
Yeah.
Brilliant. I'm conscious of time, Brian, and before we kind of let you head off, I want to just shift to the small screen for a couple of minutes.
Sure.
So, like, when I was thinking about, when Mero said you were coming on again, I was like, oh, lovely. I must think about kind of series that I watched and that I thought were really good, right? And then I was like, is there anything coming up this year then, right? So we'll ask you if there's anything coming this year in a second, right? But in terms of what you watched last year that you were like, if you haven't watched it, fucking watch it, right? The two that I would say, Slow Horses, absolutely. Anybody who hasn't watched Slow Horses needs to watch Slow Horses. But the one that I watched, and I wasn't expecting it to be, or I wasn't, I'll rephrase it, I wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I knew it was going to be decent. Masters of the Air.
Did you like that? Yeah.
I really enjoyed Austin Butler in it, and I really liked what's his name?
I know the guy you're thinking of.
I'm brutal with fucking names, but yeah, I like. I wasn't, because I like love Band of Brothers, right?
Same.
The Pacific, I was like, so I wasn't expecting, but I was like, okay, yeah, no, this one I got into, and this one I really enjoyed.
Do you know something, right? I wanted to love it.
Yeah.
I really wanted to love it because Band of Brothers, like my God,
Oh,
I watch that once a year.
same.
I will set
Yeah.
aside like a week and a half, and
Yeah.
I'll crack through it I'll crack through one a night. Like it's brilliant. I love it. The Pacific, do you know something? I went back and watched it again. If you haven't
Mm.
rewatched it, give it another shot. It's worth a
Right.
go. It is worth a go. Masters of the Air. I don't know why, but there was something. I don't know. There was just something about it that felt old fashioned. And I'll explain, right?
Right.
I get that Band of Brothers was coming off the back of Saving Private Ryan. You have to
Mm.
remember that. It was coming off the back of Saving Private Ryan. So people were looking for, or at least expecting, uh, you know, World War II to be treated in a very kind of realistic way, gritty, dirt
Yeah.
on their faces. They're all like smoking and everyone's like getting PTSD and everyone's fucked and it's Whereas when I went into watching Masters of the Air, I was thinking the same thing as well. I was like, oh great, this is going to be messed up. And do either of you remember a film called Memphis Belle?
No.
No.
Right. It was a Ron Howard film in the 90s. And it's real kind of it's kind of like that same problem, Masters of the Air, where it's that real kind of like America, and we're gonna fly, and we're gonna be great together for America. It's like The West Wing. If you go back and watch The West Wing now, you're
Oh,
just like
don't ruin Adam Sorkin for me, man.
I know, but this you go back and watch you go back and watch The West Wing now, and there are parts of it where it's just like,
That's not
ugh.
age, no?
It has aged like milk in certain
Oh.
parts. I'm sorry. I hate to break it to you. I listen, I had the big huge box set
Yes.
for
Yeah.
the West Wing. Remember the one that used to come like I had the big presidential scene? Yeah, I
Yeah.
had one of them as well. I love the West Wing, but my God, go back and watch it now and it is aged like milk.
Yeah.
And
No,
I
fairness, I
was
haven't watched
actually
it in a while.
I was thinking about going back to watch it, and I don't know what stopped me, but
I mean, no, I'll tell you right. I no, I'll
now.
qualify it. I'll qualify it. You can dip in. You can dip in and out. There are a couple
Yeah.
of episodes, like if you've got a favorite, like that one where the two-parter one where they get lost in the Midwest or something like that, and fine, watch them two or something like that. But yeah, but Masters of the Air, I don't know. It just felt like it was trying very hard to be old school, and then I don't know, it didn't work. I'll tell you what I did watch last year that I thought was brilliant, and I haven't seen enough people talking about it, and it bugs me. It's called Say Nothing.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
Did you watch it?
Amazing.
yeah.
Amazing.
I
Say,
fucking loved it.
say
Yes.
nothing, the Disney thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, oh,
Absolutely
brilliant.
fucking brilliant. Yeah.
It was probably my favorite. I went. Say Nothing was up there with one of my favorite. Now, all the stuff I watched last year were quite, other than Say Nothing, was kind of light entertainment. I would have watched the Aussie sitcom Colin from Accounts that I really
yeah.
enjoyed. I would have went back and watched Heels, the professional wrestling
I
show.
mean,
Oh,
I
yeah.
keep meaning to watch that. Is that worth the watch? Yeah.
It is. Yeah,
Brilliant.
it's good. It's very
It
good.
is like
We didn't
it's-
talk
it's
about
very-
John Cena turning heel, by the way, but let's.
Jesus
Well,
Christ.
we haven't got there yet. But those are the type of Say Nothing was just the
was
acting
brilliant.
in Say
Yeah.
Nothing. The cast was just, just thought it was superb.
Yeah, and like if anyone's read the book, if anyone's read the book, like it is, they really got a lot of detail into it. Like they really did capture a lot of it. Like, and it's what struck me about it was that it really kind of got in. It really got into this the mentality of like what would it take for somebody to turn to violence that way.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the reality of it is that like when you're in an environment of constant violence that's aimed directly at you for no good reason, for
Yeah,
no for of no, you are completely innocent and it's still coming towards you. Well, what are you going to do? Like, of course you're going to fight back. Of course you're going to say, right, if I have to pick up a gun here or if I have to carry something to somewhere, if that's what I have to do, I'll do it because I need this to stop. Now I can't be safe unless they stop. Like, and if I can get them to stop by doing something unthinkable, then that's what I'll have to do. Like, it was brilliant. Like, it was
I
so
don't
good.
think that. Do you think that was the makers' objective in it? Like, do you think that they wanted to get that angle across?
But see, this is it. I don't think it was an intent. I think it was just a fact of life. Like, that's the thing. Like, it
Absolutely.
was just, I don't think they were trying to say, hey, guess what? Everyone needs to join the IRA. It's actually morally okay to throw bombs at English people. Like, I don't think they were saying that. We might look at that and think, oh yeah, fuck it, yeah. Like,
A lot of people of the kind of persuasion of loyalists thought that's what it was. That they were criticizing that at the height of its kind of popularity was during our general election, and they were saying that it was a propaganda piece and a propaganda
get
tool.
away with that. Come
I
on.
know. I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous, but I thought it was the young Jerry Adams was absolutely superb.
And here we are talking. And here, just to make a point, he's English.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's from Manchester. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they were successful at the IFTAs as well. So
Yeah.
Lolly Pedigree and Hazel Duke, I thought they were just, it was amazing. I just loved it. Go back to wrestling there. In terms of pro wrestler turned actor, Dave Bautista's obviously the best one, is he?
Oh, 100%. Have you? He's in a film that's out at the minute called The Last Showgirl with Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson.
Yes. Yeah. And he is brilliant in it. He is fantastic in it. I'm going to nail me colours to the mast, right?
Yeah.
He will get nominated for, I will say, Best Supporting Actor at some point in the next 5 to 10 years.
Stop. Yeah. Can you imagine Dwayne Johnson or Cena or
do you know what? And I would love to see that. I would love to.
It'd be unbelievable, wouldn't it?
It'd be unbelievable. He is one of those actors, right? That they just don't make him like that anymore. It's a character actor. It's an actor that has a face like a map of the world, that has a lot of like, you can tell he's lived a life. You can tell he has a darkness in him. You can tell that he has seen some shit.
And hasn't he?
Oh God, yeah, Jesus, yeah. Like his life is nuts. Like the stuff that he casually drops into interviews sometimes, and you're like, what? It's nuts. Yeah. But like, and this was a type of actor that was very common in the 70s and 80s, like that had this kind of real richness in them, and they don't make them anymore. And Dave Bautista is like from another time like, and I could easily see him, if he gets the right script and the right director, he could easily be an Oscar winning actor, and he fucking deserves it. I cannot.
And he's getting all the plaudits now, isn't he?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Yeah. Like he is really like going places, like far more than John Cena and The Rock, like, because, like The Rock, I think as an actor, he's one note, like he can only do one thing.
Yeah.
And everything he does, he has to be Billy Big Bollocks. He has to be. He does. He has to be top dollar. He has to be right up at the top. Like, to make a film about Santa, and no, it's actually about Santa's bodyguard. Like, come on.
Come on.
Like, what did you think of that film, actually?
I hated it. I remember like sitting in the press screening for it thinking, why? I was like, why is this? Like, and it cost them something like 250 million, like $250 million, and you're like,
ridiculous, like because again, the cast. You look at the cast, you're like,
J.K. Simmons,
Chris Evans. You're like, okay, and it's a Christmas movie. This should be a bit of crack. This should be. It was awful.
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 I don't remember enjoying any of his films. Maybe the one with the one with Wahlberg. Maybe was it Mark Wahlberg?
Pain and Gain. That was that was good. Yeah, I enjoyed that as well. Yeah,
I can't remember. Can't remember that in recent.
Again, it's the chewing gum for the brain kind of movie. You know what I mean? It's I don't go in looking for it to be.
You're laughing at it though, not with it.
Sometimes, but I'm not going in looking for it to be a Martin Scorsese flick. Like, do you know what I mean? I know
that's the difference
what
now
I'm
with
going for.
Batista is giving performances now where they're standing out, and he's getting the actor plaudits, whereas Cena and The Rock will just be typecast for certain roles and make me look good, like, that type of way.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, just, and again, I'm conscious of time here, right? But you mentioned there the biggest heel turn in wrestling in a long time, Brian. And clunky kind of segue slash question with this, right? So storylines in wrestling have been over the years mixed, but sometimes there's been unbelievable
Oh
stories,
yeah.
right? And Paul Heyman made the point in an interview recently that Roman Reigns should have been nominated for an Emmy. Will we ever see the day? Now, I mean,
Such
wrestling's on
bullshit,
Netflix
though,
now,
isn't it?
but I mean, it's scripted drama, right? That's what we're talking about. It's entertainment. It's like, will we ever get to a point where you could see a WWE wrestler nominated for an Emmy based on like that, the Bloodline storyline or whatever it might be?
I mean, do you know, right? I don't see it happening, and I'll tell
Right.
you why, right? One
I don't
kayfabe.
know.
One kayfabe. I mean, that's just the thing. Like kayfabe, for those who
Does
don't
still
know,
exist? Does
it,
they
it
exist?
it does still exist. Oh, 100% it still does. It still exists. Like, of course it does. But like the point of making, like CM Punk, like him trying to the pipe bomb. No, I don't buy any of that bullshit. It's a work. Like to quote Kevin Nash, it's a work. Like, bro, I don't think it will, because it's not. And I don't agree with this, but I'm just kind of saying what the Emmys and what the Golden Globes and all the rest of it see it as. They see it as low rent entertainment. They don't see it as a sport, or no, sorry, not a sport. They see it. They don't see it as an art form. They don't
Right.
see it as an expression. They see it as sports entertainment. And now, look, this was something that Vince McMahon had been pushing for ages and ages and ages. And oh, it's a sport, and it's, it's up there with baseball and all the rest of it, and da 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 da. Now that Netflix are in the mix, and the TKO group, I should say, you could see it.
Yeah.
It might happen. I doubt it though. But I mean, to be honest, I don't think they'd want it. You know, that kind of way. Like, it's enough that, like, people still like you say, people still talk about the Bloodline storyline. Like, people still talk about, like, like if you want like an Oscar winning scene in wrestling history, I'll tell you right now what it is, and you probably know what it is already. It was Ric Flair and Shawn Michaels,
Oh my God.
right?
Oh
Shawn
my
Michaels, I'm sorry, I love you, and then
Yeah.
whoosh. Like, tell that if that isn't one of the most cinematic moments in wrestling history. You can actually see, like, Jesus, like the look on Ric Flair's face when he's like calling him on, like, and you can see Shawn Michaels is like, he looked like, oh, like it. I still think about that. It's like, that is a film. That's a
Yeah.
film. You know
That's
what I
a
mean?
great show. That
So
is a great show.
It's just hyperbolic nonsense from Heyman, and if you're going to get a time with Paul Heyman in an interview, it's going to be kayfabe. Like,
yeah,
we're talking about
Love
the
it though.
Cena turn. Yeah, absolutely. I'm not criticizing, but the statement about an Emmy is just a bit ludicrous, I think. The you're talking about kayfabe there. I mean, look at the Cena heel turn. Like, if you're to believe what the journalists are saying in the industry, is that Rock, we go back to Rock making things about Dwayne Johnson. He wanted that to be him.
Yeah.
And Paul Levesque, Triple H was like, no, I can't.
you've done it already.
We've done it already. They're not going to buy that. And then for this first time since returning to WWE, Cody Rhodes actually politicked and said, no, we can't go with Dwayne. And then they said, right, let's go with Cena. So that's how Cena's become a heel, because they actually politicize Rock out of the scenario. But again, he's in later years now, Rock has been proven not to be really a good person when it comes to making movies, or
Oh yeah.
just seems to be a person that his co-creators, so to speak, are not really enjoying being around them. And it seems to be making its way into the wrestling industry now, since he's kind of part-time back,
Yeah, and it's interesting that we're talking about kayfabe. Like, I mean, yeah, like the fact that, like, The Rock is kind of, he's not where he once was. He's not sort of universally beloved and all the rest of it. Like, it's, yeah, like I think it's better that, he was the one that called the shot to Cena and stuff like that. That he would like that. That
Yeah,
was that was way better. Like, you know, that kind of way. That made it so much better. And I mean, the other argument I heard was that, like, you know, the reason why Cena would never turn heel was because he always needed someone else to take over the reins. And now that Cody is there and that Cody is kind of like leading the charge, WWE, and that he's kind of like the face of the company, so to speak, Cena can step back, or at least Cena can turn heel. And yeah, and I mean, and it's great. I mean, I can't wait to see what happens next. Like, and I haven't watched wrestling with any great regularity in years. Like, but I saw this and I was like, shit. Now I have to. I'm in. You got me. Like, I'm back.
He's Cena still a dark though. Like the state.
Yeah. But like, it's when John
I'm not
Stewart,
as intrigued as the general public seem to be intrigued. I was like, oh no.
Yeah, but like this is one of those things that it transcends just the regular audience.
Correct.
Like when John Stewart is using the John Cena heel turn to talk about global politics, you know it's
you've hit
somewhere.
You've hit a home run.
That's it, Brian. As always, man. It is great.
Thanks so much. Great chat as always.
Again, just leaving the last 5 minutes to talk about wrestling, just should have spent longer.
I know.
Thank you as always.
Watch heels, Brian. Watch heels.
I will. I am going to get on that.
Hunk is in it actually.
Is he? Yeah.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, it's a small part, but he pops up a bit in it. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
cool.
There's a character in it, Wild Bill. You'll
brilliant.
You'll love him. He's
brilliant.
Yeah. Well, then, Brian, if people want to hear more from you, where can they get you?
Ireland AM. I'm on Instagram. I'm on TikTok. TikTok rather. TikTok. Do you hear me? TikTok. Brian Lloyd. I'm all over the place.
Love it, man. Well, look, thanks again, and we look forward to chatting to you again sometime in the future.
Thanks a lot,
Brian.
Cheers, Bob.
Huge thank you to Brian for joining us again there. I forgot to say to him the last time he was on, and I was saying how much I love Ben Affleck. He told me to watch a Jennifer Aniston film, and I would find that, and he was 100% right. And I never mentioned it to him, so he'll just have to live without knowing, I guess.
Live without knowing.
But it proves the point that his recommendations are always on the money.
Yeah, I was delighted to hear that he agrees with the sentiment that Dave Bautista is the best professional wrestler turned actor out there.
Absolutely.
Because the other lads all get the plaudits for all these explosion movies, but when it comes to acting, I think Bautista is class.
Yep, and I said that one he's in at the moment, the Pamela Anderson showgirl. It's
I have to watch that.
Yeah, it's very, very good, man. It's very good. Sorry.
Oh, he's sneezing. Right. We are What's the Story podcast. That was episode 328 with the great Brian Lloyd. We are back. If Danny's better next week, we'll be back. If he's still under plague restrictions, we won't be back. But you can catch us at WTSpod.com. You can search WTS Pod on any podcast provider. And that's it, really. We hope to be back next week with a healthy Danny. You were very chatty in the interview, so that was good, but it's probably because you're drinked up.
I was going to say medicated and caffeinated, and I could feel myself slipping towards the end.
Slipping away. Deadly. All right, until next time, clear eyes.
Full hearts.
Can't lose.